There's a question on everyone's minds. It's on my mind. Can horror movies be truly good? Will you please tell me about
Start
this?
us off? Okay.
Yeah.
I've thought a lot about this. So my points, I'm not going to say they're the best points in the world, but I have given this a lot of thought because I have had a fascination with horror movies. I realize that horror movies deal with horrifying things. They deal with evil very bluntly. It's like, this is evil. And so if you just make a horror movie and you're not... Dang!
We better go to the graphics.
Yeah, go to the graphic. I'm scared. Look how scary that guy is.
I'm goosebumpily scared.
Can horror movies be truly good? So if you just make a horror movie and you're undiscerning, there's a million ways to do it wrong, I think. It's like there's a lot of bad, uppercase B, bad horror movies out there because they're undiscerning with the nature of horror. Mm-hmm. Now, can a horror movie be good? I think is a good question because here's a few points, and you guys can disagree with these, but why I think horror can not only be truly good, horror movies can be truly good, but they're like an essential part of a toolkit of a filmmaker, of an audience member, that like horror is a good thing. It's a good genre. So horror, first of all, is a virtue, rightly directed. Horror of sin.
Oh.
We pray for that in certain litanies, certain prayers to saints. You pray for a horror of sin. Horror over the right things is actually a virtue. So that first point is, therefore, if your film gives you a horror of sin, it's a virtuous film.
That's a great point.
Number two, the genre of horror movies, you can call them, they've been called like monster movies as well. The good ones, now, again, there's a million ways to do them wrong, but the good ones, the ones that stick with people, they always begin with a sin. And the sin creates a monster or a curse or a whatever that terrorizes people. It's then the big bad, the dark presence, the whatever that's chasing people. Then there's a character that's usually been affected by this evil that's that also shows the way to overcome it. It's like a half man, half monster kind of character. And then there's a sacrifice that must be made in order to deal with the sin, ultimately, because the monster is a product of sin. So, for example, the movie Babadook is a horror movie, really scary. If you watch the trailer, it's like mother reading a bedtime story to her son, and there's this monster called a Babadook. Babadook, Duke, Duke, and he knocks on the door, and like he comes in, and it's a pop-out book, and he looks really creepy as he soars into the room. And then she, her sanity starts to unravel, and then she starts to hear the Babadook kind of come for her. Wow. And the Babadook in this story represents the sin, and this is a sin in a loose sense, but grief that's repressed, grief that you're not recognizing, which can destroy you. Like if you just have grief and you never look at it, and it'll descend upon you and destroy you over time. She also sees in this film herself becoming half Babadook, half insane, half, damned.
This is a movie that you've watched.
Yes.
It's not an animated movie.
No.
Oh, wow. Okay.
And then there's a sacrifice she must make to deal with the grief and to manage it and to treat it with, I guess, with the attention it deserves. So anyways, horror is a genre that, when done well, has a sin that creates a monster that needs sacrifice to overcome. Here's my third point. Fatima, Our Lady of Fatima, used horror when she showed the three children hell.
I'll give you that.
It was a message of,
right,
here's hell, be horrified. It was a vision of hell. It's like, here is It was as if she turned on a projector and said, here's hell. Be scared of it. Don't sin. And then the fourth and final point, that if there's good horror in sacred art, where you see hell depicted in horrifying ways, like I think of, I've been fascinated with a piece called, it's by Van Eyck. Is it John Van Eyck? Maybe you guys know, I don't know, but it's called The Last Judgment. And then on the left side, you have the crucifixion, and then the people at the foot of the cross are like in their own business. You know, obviously Mary and John are weeping and comforting each other, but then you have guards ripping the tunic. Then you have other people kind of distracted and angry or envious. And that's one side. That's like earth. And then on the other side, you have judgment. And it's like Archangel Michael, people falling into the pit of hell, and it's horrifying. It's like, okay, if there can be good horror in sacred art, why not good horror in film? There can be good horror in sacred literature like Dante. So why can't there be good horror in film? So those are my points.
Those are excellent points.
Yeah.
I want to go right to Sam because I'm still processing this. You and I have talked about horror for months.
Yeah.
You showed me a trailer. I'm not going to.
Yeah, don't subject anyone to that trailer.
Wow. Like, I didn't sleep well that night. Really? I'm not kidding.
For the Babadook or something
No,
else?
no, something else. I'm not even going to mention
We'll
it.
tell you off air because we don't want people to look it
It's
up.
not a bad movie.
No.
But it is a mainstream movie that's out there. Anyway, Sam, I want to... Excellent points. Sam, what do you think about all that?
Yeah, this is something I've kind of wrestled with, especially because we're approaching, I mean, it won't be till October, but doing a series on horror for 100 movies. So, yeah, I would say I feel like horror is sort of an offshoot of the thriller, and I feel like the thriller is like the quintessential like genre for Hollywood. I think it's like, I think it's honestly the highest genre for film. So I think horror, I think there are some movies that kind of toe the line that you would call psychological horror almost. I think Shutter Island is a good example of that, but you might also call that a thriller. But I think what you're getting at is more like Frankenstein, like classic horror, Dracula. Which when I think of those, I think those are phenomenal examples. I just think there's so much bad horror out there.
Yeah.
And there's so much like, and a lot of it, honestly, the movies like Scream and Cabin in the Woods that parody those movies, I really enjoy because I think they make a lot of they make a lot of sense. Like just pointing out some of the tropes and things. I think Cabin in the Woods especially actually points out how taking in some of those worst horror films actually like it's like almost like it ties it to like satanic like rituals of like enjoying those films. Like I'm thinking like Freddy Krueger. I'm thinking like Nightmare on Nightmare on Elm Street, Friday the 13th. Like those movies, I just don't see anything redeeming, and I don't understand why. I don't see why anyone should watch those kind of films. But you got a point.
That's the point that I want to bring up.
Yes.
Is that when you talk to me, Cameron, about horror, that's where I had to go straight to Friday the 13th.
Yeah.
And what was the other one? The Halloween, Mike Myers.
Yeah.
Right? So when I grew up in the 80s and 90s, I mean, that's what we had. We had this bad horror.
Yeah.
And I was not I didn't have a religious upbringing. So I didn't know, I had a moral compass kind of, but didn't have so when you brought it up, I'm like, oh no, horror is bad because it's those nonsensical things. But then as you describe it, I'm thinking, I immediately thought of Dante's Inferno.
Yeah.
Right? It's like, well, yeah, you can do that. And we've, in fact, Allie and we just came back not that long ago from Quito, Ecuador. And there was this huge, beautiful painting, ginormous painting in this church, this 16th century church built by the Jesuits. And it was a depiction of hell and just how horrible it is.
Yeah.
And that's such a good thing. I mean, that's what the church teaches us. The only thing we have to fear is separation from God, which is sin, right? That's the only thing we have to fear. Yet we have all these things that try to scare us, like the Freddy Kruegers and the Jason and Mike Myers and everything. So I like your points. I think your points are very, very valid. And that's why, Sam, I wanted to kind of get your thoughts on it. So
I think there's a good distinction. You could almost say that like there's true horror, the way you described it, and then there's slasher films. And I think Catholics should not watch slasher films.
Yeah.
Okay, I think I agree with you because I agree with the point that most horror films are just bad, and slasher films make up a good portion of bad horror films. So I think I agree with you. Now, a more modern kind of slasher film was It Follows.
Let's see that.
Which go to VidAngel, use promo code Crusade because you don't want to watch this movie without filters on it. But so, like I said, a good horror movie has clear sin, clear consequences, which is a monster that is pursuing you. Yeah. And it's so primal. Like, it's something that just rings. The reason it's scary is because it resonates. It's like, oh, that could happen to me. It's like, what? What do you mean?
Can you give us a good example?
Okay, so It Follows.
Yeah.
Sexual sin.
Okay.
Teenagers pass on this curse where it will follow you. And it can take the form of any person or thing, and it pursues you. It's always walking towards you. And when it gets to you, it'll kill you. Once it kills you, then it goes over to the person who had the curse before. That, when I watched that with filters, it, because you don't need to see everything to know what's going on.
Yeah. Sure.
But it's a clear sin with clear, frightening consequences.
Like, talking about like the sin of fornication?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
So, yeah, the effect of that sin gives you a horror of sin without realizing it. Like, and it affects the subconscious of people. Because it's a clear sin and a clear consequence. It's like I described it as kind of a more modern slasher because it has the same trope of something, and it's a thing that's always coming towards you that has like superhuman strength that'll just dismember you. I love how thunder is playing in the background.
Love it.
But so I wouldn't say hands down that just never watch a slasher film, because I can imagine a scenario. I'm not going to recommend any slasher films because I need to think about that more. But
there's nothing redeeming about Freddy Krueger. You're right, Sam. It's a waste of time.
Yeah, Freddy Krueger might be a good example of just like why bother?
Yeah,
right.
Because it's just indulgent. It's an indulgent horror.
But Sam, you bring up.
It sounds like it's not indulgent, which from based on what I've heard. So I feel like that would be an exception to the rule.
Yeah.
You bring up a good point, which is in some horror, because especially if you do a search online and you, every once in a while, I'm sure you've done this, and you'll type in something and you're like, oh, I didn't know that was a horror film. Like, for example, we have one of our children, we have 9 kids, one of our children's names, we just typed it into the internet. And my 21-year-old daughter was like, I can't believe this is a horror movie, when we typed in that name of one of our children. I was like, wow, how is that a horror movie? And it just was like, this looks bad. But then there's some of those horror movies, whatever you want to call it, that have demonic symbols. And it's like,
that's another pitfall. Absolutely.
Yeah. So I guess that's the thing that, to me, is there.
Now, okay, let me say this though. So there is a risk of too much curiosity with the occult, and demons, and it's a huge risk. People should be very cautious. Shouldn't go into these undiscerningly. C.S. Lewis talks about two downfalls. When people think about demons, they make one of two mistakes. They think of them at too little or too much. And I mean, there's a film that's very simple called Paranormal Activity. And here's like I think a reason why showing some of this is actually helpful, because what happens is there's some ghostly activity in the house. At some point in the film, they talk about speaking to a priest. We gotta get a priest in here, because that's what it always rings true. Is like when there's a demon, you call a priest, right?
Yeah, right.
instead of calling a priest, they like get a Ouija board and then they call like a psychic.
Yeah.
So it's like, okay, never do that. Well, what if the movie does that and then things get terribly worse? So for me, it depends on what it means in the film. And too many films, I will admit, in this genre will be too curious and open because they deal with real imagery and names and symbols and stuff.
I think for somebody like you, this is my opinion, Sam, and I want to get your opinion on my opinion. How about that? I want your opinion on my opinion. My opinion is, as a filmmaker, you, Cameron O'Hearn, can you go into a movie that you're automatically thinking and breaking things down in a way that most of us don't? So I guess, Sam, my point is, you do got to be very careful, because for those of us who aren't filmmakers or even film enthusiasts, I would just say I like film. I love watching old movies. I don't have that ability to kind of turn those things off, and so I guess I'm curious as to, do you think is there like wipe the whole thing out, or do you think no, we can't wipe the whole thing out, Sam?
For specific
of horror,
horror.
Wipe it all out?
No, I don't think wipe everything out.
Okay.
I mean, I think to the point we were just talking about with the demonic symbols and things like that. That's if
you see that, you can't go it. My point of all this is that here we are. The whole premise of this show is to help our families, right? Help individuals and families. We want to obviously defend the good movies, destroy the bad ones, so that we can win the culture war.
Yeah, it's true. And I don't really want horror movies for families. That's true.
Yeah.
I want it more for the godless guy who's just like living a debaucherous life. I was like, watch this horror movie and come back to confession.
Or see the horror elements in movies like The Passion, like the scenes with Judas.
There are some horror elements. Yeah, you're right.
That's true. No, there was some bad, like crazy Judas moments for sure. No, that's a really good point. I think this is a discussion that we could keep going on for quite a bit. Thunder. Especially with the thunder.
So cool.
But I want to applaud you for breaking that down. I think your points are very valid. And I want to remind...
Interested to hear what people think.
Yeah, I want to know what people think. So please go to moviecrusade.com, sign up, and send us a message. Tell us what you think about horror. Destroy it all. Keep some of it. Keep all of it. I don't want to watch Freddy Krueger. I'm not going to watch that nonsense. A lot of that stuff scared me in the 80s and 90s, but I was a pansy. So, I'm not going to watch that. If you liked that clip, which I'm sure you did, then check out our other clips. And don't forget to go into the comments section and hype this bad boy. Don't make me get Fat Cardinal. Hype it now.